Bula and welcome to Melanesian Woman Today Talnoa and STORIAN session. Thank you for joining us on our STORIAN on coping with natural disaster stress. So before I jump right in, I would like to ask the MWT team to introduce ourselves, and I will be starting it off. So my name is Meva Vuniwai, and I am part of the MWT health team, and I am from Fiji. I just recently came back from Adelaide in Australia after completing my Masters of Counseling and Psychotherapy. And while completing my studies, I worked as a school counselor with children from ages 5 to 18 years old. And along with that, I also work in an organization looking after homeless people who are drug and alcohol addicts. I am passionate about working in the mental health field and also supporting Pacific Islander communities. Now, I would like to give this opportunity to the other MWT health team. And if Gabrielle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Tor. I've been with the MWT health team for about a year now. I'm from Vanuatu, from West Mumbai, and I'm like Meva. I work as a therapist, and I completed my master's degree in clinical psychology here in the States. I work as a therapist for adults 18 and up, with coping with all kinds of problems from stressors, as well as things like depression and health issues. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, is helping people understand how to care for their mental well-being. I'll turn it over to Dr. Mere to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mere Dari Sove, and I'm so glad that we're having this wonderful session because it's a time that we really need it. It's very timely. So I'm going to introduce myself in Bishlama. So Nemblami Mere Dari Sove, Mimi team member of MWT team. So we play really glad to master is joining me for the tape, but you will small hound, you will Kop Wetem Disasta Taem Natural Disaster. So thank you, Tumas. Welcome to session.
Thank you, Gabrielle and Dr. Mary. So moving on to our presentation for today. So before we...
do you want to have Valerie introduce herself, even if she's behind the screen?
Yeah, of course.
Valerie, do you want to introduce yourself? Behind the screen, if she's listening. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Hello, Olketa. My name is Valerie Patrick. Me lo Vanuatu, me base lo New Zealand. Me happy to must play. Me have a STORIAN with them team the Melanesian women today. We have talk about how lo cope with them stress during lo natural disaster. Thank you, plus have included me inside lo panel there. Plus have introduced to me.
Sorry about that, Valerie, and thank you for introducing yourself as well. So moving on to our presentation for today. So before I begin, we have some ground rules. Now that we are recording and we will be uploading onto our respective channels. So I'll jump right on to the second point. So just kindly reminding us to use respectful language and respect other participants in this space. So there will be the comment section, I believe, will be open. So please feel free to share your opinions. And also, it's okay to disagree. I personally appreciate it when people disagree with me because it can inspire new ideas and provide me an opportunity to learn, and also to the MWT team. But please remember, when you disagree, be respectful with how you address it. And moving on to our objective for our presentation today. So objective is to provide some strategies on how to cope with natural disaster stress and supporting family from afar. Right now, given the situation back in Vanuatu, most of you who will be watching this video, this recording, are living afar from your family. And given the situation of what happened back at home in Vanuatu, I know it can be the most difficult situation to be in right now. We have seen news, statistics from official news, social medias, and so on. And I can understand that this is causing a lot of distress for most, and if not for all who will be watching this recording. Just a kind reminder that stress is a normal human response to our outside world. But remember, stress can affect our mental and physical health if we do not cope well with it. So given our objective, I'm going to move on to our next slide. I know I've been saying the term stress a lot, but what is stress? So according to World Health Organization, stress can be defined as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. So right now, the difficult situation is the natural disaster or the earthquake in Vanuatu, which is causing worry and a lot of mental tension. And this is a normal reaction. And you're worried about your family back home in Vanuatu. And I can understand that you might be having difficulties in trying to get in touch with them due to the network problem. And I know this can be frustrating and, of course, stressful as well. And I just want to remind us that everyone experiences stress to some degree. Therefore, it makes it a normal human response. But the way we respond to stress makes a big difference to our overall well-being. So, how do we take control of stress instead of stress taking control of us? Because remember, if stress is not effectively managed, it can lead to a lot of negative outcomes. And you can see on the slide, there are a few points that have been mentioned on the slides. There are a lot of negative outcomes, right, that can be caused by stress. Everyone experiences stress in their own way, but these are the common ones that I've listed, and those are anxiety, depression, sleep disturbance, fatigue. So I'll just give a bit of definitions of some of the terms are listed here. So anxiety is when you're feeling irritable or restless, where it often can lead to poor concentration on most of the day, or nearly every. It can lead to trouble in concentrating or making decisions. So maybe some of you are experiencing this. Otherwise, there's also depression, where there's a feeling of loss of pleasure or interest in activities. And now that you're living afar from Vanuatu, all you could think of is back home, your families. So this can lead to depression. The thing about depression, it lasts for a long period of time. So most of the day, nearly every day, 4 weeks and more. And also some may find sleep disturbances, where you can have difficulty in sleeping, or you find difficulty in sleeping. You probably because you find yourself continuously thinking about your family back home, or otherwise some may find themselves having excessive daytime sleepiness. And also moving on to fatigue, where you feel tired and have lack of energy, and this is interfering with your usual daily activities. And there's that feelings of loss, helplessness, eating disorder, and just so stress can also affect how we eat. For me personally, I also experience stress, and sometimes when I go through stress, I tend to overeat. I tend to feed myself a lot, and that's for me. For those who are watching, you could probably experience stress in a different way. For some, they don't feel hungry, so they starve themselves. So, um, that's how stress can affect us. And finally, headaches and body pains. Um, Maybe because of all the things that I've listed so far, could be the reason that you could have headaches and body pains, or otherwise just from overthinking and the other things that are going through your head could be can affect you physically. So now, how do we cope with all this stress? So in the next slide, I've listed this term self-compassion. This is so self-compassion in the most simplest term, it is the practice of being kind and understanding towards yourself. So now that you are going through a lot of mental tension, a lot of anxiety and stress, it's very important that you practice self-compassion. You be kind to yourself and remind yourself that what you're experiencing is a normal human experience and that you're not overthinking or being dramatic. Sometimes because of stress, when we react the way we react, our body reacts the way it reacts, we tend to define it that, oh, you're just overthinking, oh, you're just being dramatic. But please remind yourself that this is a normal human experience. And I had put a picture there. If you look at on the slide, there's a picture of a man feeding a child. So I just want to give a visual description of what self-compassion looks like. So imagine yourself, you're in a house with a child, like a 5-year-old kid, and this kid starts crying and saying that he is hungry. Yeah, and so what are you going to do about it? So you either gonna get up, look for the mom, look for the kid's mom, and let them know that the kid's hungry. Otherwise, you will find or make some food for the child and feed them. So this is what you call being compassionate. You feel compassion for this child. So now imagine your inner self or your mental health is a child. So how will you take care of it? So that's just a visual description of how you can take care of your mental health. And moving on onto the next slide, there are a few points that I've come up with on how you can show self-compassion to your own self. So we will delve deeper into this, but I want to again remind us that these are only a few things that I have come up with. You know yourself best, and you know the how and ways you can look after yourself best. You know how you react to stress. You know how your body works when it comes to stress. So these are just a few things that I stated, but you know what's best for you. So those are the few things that I've mentioned. So take a break, control what you can, stay positive, reach out to support network, and use social media thoughtfully. So on the first point, take a break. So just moving on to our next slide, take a break. Yes, I understand that, it's important that we wish to stay informed of the most recent news and staying updated, finding out what's happening back home. But also remember, while you're doing this, some of us, we are on our social media most of the time during the day, just staying updated. But remember, while you're doing this, you're also causing more stress with your mental health, especially if your loved ones is in the earthquake affected areas. So taking a break from watching the news can lessen your distress. I know this is easy said than done, but one suggestion I've put up was I have listed is check the news only at specific times during the day, probably in the morning and evening, or morning, lunchtime, and evening. Yeah. And also, I'd like to remind us to please choose trusted sources by following official and credible news outlets or government channels to avoid unnecessary fear or worry. Because nowadays there's AI, there's like people have access, everyone has access to internet, and people can upload false information. They can create fake pictures on using AI or other websites out there. So please always choose trusted sources. And moving on to our next slide, control what you can. Okay, control what you can. Right now, the communication can be a bit patchy back home. So focus on what you can control. Because when you focusing on how the network isn't working or how patchy it is, it can cause frustration and can lead to other things. So focus on what you can control as a way to hear from your loved ones in Vanuatu. Some of the things, so yes, so when you, due to the patchy network, sometimes we tend to blame ourselves for the things we cannot do. We may feel that there could have been more we could have done, or we wish we could have been there with them. So one suggestion that I've stated is continue with your daily routines and schedule. Give yourself a break from constantly thinking about the earthquakes. Again, this is easy said than done, but just reminding you, look after that child that I stated earlier in my last slide. Look after that child in the home we discussed, and how best you can take care of that child. And moving on to our next slide, staying positive. I know many of us have probably received comforting message or have seen on social media people saying, stay positive, have hope, have faith. I know at some point you'll get tired of hearing this. Again, easy said than done. Right now, I understand that it's quite difficult to stay positive and have hope. Some of you can do it, and others might find themselves very difficult in doing this, especially after seeing the news or social media of the situations that have happened in Vanuatu, and the statistics that have been broadcasted by the news. I understand that right now it's very difficult to stay positive. Again, remember self-compassion. Look after that child that I mentioned. Moving on onto our next slide, about using social media thoughtfully. Again, right now, there's even on my feed when I go through my media, I see everything is about Vanuatu of what happened. Sometimes some of the pictures can be very triggering, and please remind yourself to take a break from social media, because some of these pictures, just the picture itself can cause a lot of distress and can make you overthink about a lot of things. So take a break from social media, check the news and social media only at specific times. Avoid sharing unverified news that could cause unnecessary worry for you and also for others who follows you on social media. And just reminding us to post messages of hope and use positive imagery that will lessen the stress and anxiety of waiting to hear from your loved ones back home. And moving on, the final point that I've first listed on self-compassion, to reach out to support networks. Reach out to support networks. So reach out to your friends, reach out to communities. You're probably members of churches. You're probably attending churches or other communities that you're part of. Reach out to them. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. Every once in a while, we always need help. And I would also like to remind us that it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes we can be under the weather. Sometimes we can, right now, given the situation back in Vanuatu, you may be experiencing a lot of mental tensions, and remind yourself that it's okay to not be okay. And reach out to other NI-VAN close by. So while you are also reaching out to support networks, remind yourself that you could also be a support networks for the other fellow NI-VANUATUs that are around you. If you see your fellow NI-VAN who might seem a bit distant from the others, ask them if they're okay. Look out for them too. Everyone is going through the same thing right now. And I would just like to remind us that sometimes the most comforting words can come from those walking the same path. And we are never truly alone. Yes, so reach out to our support networks. And moving on to our next slide, I've listed a few tips that you could do to look after yourself as you go through this difficult period. So this list of some things that could work for you and that might not be able to work for you. So for other activities or other strategies that you can do, you can look it up on the internet. Yeah. So I've listed here meditations. I personally, meditation does not work for me, but I've listed that maybe for some of us it can work for some of you, it can work for you. Maybe you know how to do meditation, or you can join a local group on how you could do meditations. Otherwise, you could also use YouTube videos to help you out. The second one I've listed is journaling or art therapy. So for me, I love journaling. So it simply means to write about your day or feelings in a diary, book, or even now there are journal apps available on Apple Store and on Google Play Store. And for me, when I do journaling, I don't have a format. I just write whatever's going through my head. Every word, every action that I could think of, I just put it. It's a way of putting out the overthinking that's happening in my head. So put your feelings, emotion, every word that comes into your mind in the paper or in the journal app in your own language, whichever. If you're comfortable writing in English, do it in English. If you're comfortable in writing in Bislama or French, do it in that language. There's no rule about journaling. And art therapy, it's anything to do with art. If you like to listen to calm music, or some people, they like to do painting, it calms them down. And I've also listed stretching or take a walk. If there are parks nearby or anything where you can go take a walk, do some stretches, go for it. Try it out. If sometimes it can help you calm you down. And also prayer. You know, some of us have faith, have our own faiths. You know, prayer is also a technique that helps to keep us grounded. Pray for Vanuatu, pray for your loved ones. Prayer is a useful grounding technique as well. And again, talking to someone, and also reminding us our health of drinking a lot of water, and also to eat healthy. Sometimes due to stress, some people tend to have unhealthy snacks late nights or during the day. You know, sometimes we do it without conscious because of the things that we are overthinking about. Okay, and for the last one, I've listed breathing exercise. So breathing exercise is simply you could look it up on the internet as well. There are different breathing exercises that are available. Breathing exercise helps us to, for me personally, it does help me to cope when I'm overthinking, or when I'm just not having a good day. So I found a good breathing technique on social media, and this breathing exercise is called 478 breathing exercise. So basically, for this, before I'll play this video, I just want to talk a little bit about this breathing exercise. So basically, we will be so it's called 478. So we will be inhaling for a count of 4, holding your breath for a count of 7, and exhaling for a count of 8. So what I'm going to need you to do, so you need to sit comfortably with a straight back, or you can lie down if you want to, whatever feels comfortable with you. Okay? And so you will inhale quietly through your nose. So for a count of 4. So as you inhale, you count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you hold your breath for a count of 7. And then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you exhale through your mouth for a count of 8, making a whoosh sound. So it's just basically, I don't know if you can hear that, but so, and then when you do that whoosh sound, you count it, like do it slowly so that it reaches as you count of 8. So you can repeat up to 3 or more times for a total of 4 rounds. So this video here, and I'd like to ask Dr. Mary if she could just play this video. So while you sit comfortably, and then we'll have this video playing for a few minutes before we continue on.
I think, let's see here. Can you guys hear it?
Mm.
When I'm playing it, can you hear it?
No.
Okay. So this is going to give us the same problem that we did last time.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe they can use the video, and if you can just run us through it.
Okay.
And then we can you play it on your end? And then just kind of run it through without, even if we're not listening to it, but just play it and then we can follow along.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, Dr. Mara, so we'll provide a link on the of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll provide the link to this video due to technical issue. We cannot play it. But sorry, just give me a moment. So I'm gonna need us to sit or lie down, however whatever's comfortable with you. And so we're gonna inhale it through our inhale quietly through our nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7, and then exhale forcefully through your mouth for a count of 8. So I'm gonna just provide guidance as we go along with that. All right. So let's inhale. So inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold your breath for a count of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then exhale with a whoosh sound on count of 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Now let's do that one more time. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is something that you could do, right? If it works. What I like about this breathing breathing exercise is that you could be anywhere. You could be walking in the streets, or you could be at a supermarket, and you feel yourself getting that mental tension. You could be walking and do whatever you're doing and practicing this in your head. So you don't necessarily need you to be sitting in a park or sitting in your own private space. There are other useful breathing exercises that are available online. You can always look it up and find which one you're comfortable with. So now moving on to our next slide. I would like to just kindly remind us that right now it's important to understand that your family back home just recently endured a deeply traumatic experience. And I would like to remind us to please show empathy when you're speaking to them. Sometimes without conscious, due to whatever's happening, sometimes we forget that we might have frustrations due to the network frustrations, a lot of other frustration coming in due to the excessive stress that we're experiencing. Remind yourself of what they just endured back home. So I'd like to remind us to show empathy. Empathy basically means trying to understand and feel the traumatic experience your family and your loved ones back home just endured. Put yourself in the shoes of what if that was you were at home and that happened. And again, compassion. Remember to be kind, not only to the people back home. Remember to be kind to those who are around you, the other NI-VANUATUs who around you. Kindness comes in many forms that also mean what you share on social media or how you comment on other people's posts and other things. Also, please to be sensitive, be careful with your words and actions so you don't hurt or upset anyone. And please offer support where you can. Okay, support does not necessarily mean that it's always financial. Okay, support could mean sending word of comforts, sending a Bible verse, sending checking up on your loved ones, checking up on your neighbors, asking them how they are. That's offering support. And validation. Validate their experience, what your family back home have just gone through. Let them know what they're feeling is a normal human experience. And please speak in a calm and gentle tone to provide comfort. And finally, some of us, some who may be watching this recording, are parents, and you will be speaking to your children. Again, please be empathetic and be compassionate. Create a sense of safety. Let your children know, if they would like to speak to anyone, you are there, ready to listen to them. Provide reassurance and let them know that you are there with them, that you will be there to provide support as you as you go through this difficult situation. And again, please remember to speak in a calm and gentle tone. And most importantly, sometimes we feel what they've gone through. We tend to make promises we can't keep. Please avoid making promises you can't keep. Okay, and remind your loved ones, remind your children how much you love them. That is very something very important that I would like to remind us. And that's our final slide for today. I would like, before I finish up, I would like to leave us with a quote. So this, I like this quote. It says, "We may not be able to control everything, but we can choose how we respond, with love, care, and hope, not only to others, but within ourselves too." Remember, when you're being kind to others, when you're showing compassion to others, please also show that kindness towards yourself as well. Thank you, Tumas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the Melanesian women team for putting out this very important session of how to cope with stress during natural disaster. Should I speak in English or Bishlama?
It's up to you.
Okay. So kami tok lo Bishlama and then by Auntie Mere pa hemi save translate them ikolo English. Imi save say Yumi everyone or papa mo mama Yumi go through one big natural disaster mo ol pikinini pli Yumi tu oli traumatized, even Yumi or papa mo mama tu Yumi traumatized. Now also one traumatized pikinini by one them now. One papa mo mama should make him time pikinini Yumi traumatized lo natural disaster, especially lo earthquake.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. The question, please. So, to the question to translate to English for Meva or Gabi, Meva, when a child has been traumatized because of the situation, I think you both picked up what the question might be. What is the appropriate way for a father, for a parent, either dad or mom, to approach the child? How would they respond when a child has been traumatized through a disaster, whether it be earthquake, whether it be hurricane? How can a parent respond to the child's feeling, what the child's feeling or saying or scared? What would be the appropriate way for them to go about addressing the child's need?
Gabby, you can help me along with this.
Yeah.
So the child that been through the natural disasters, one thing that came to mind is providing reassurance to the child, reassurance that, as a parent, you're there with them, that, and let them know that what they go through is what they're feeling is a normal experience, having to go through that difficult situation, because like for trauma, people react differently to trauma. There are people who become hyper, and there are people who become hypo. So hyper, their body starts to shake, and in terms of things like that. And for hypo, where they just withdraw, and they're just in their own, they isolate themselves from everything. So one thing that comes to mind when you were asking that question, Dr. Mary, was, providing reassurance to the kid, and speak speak to them, let them know that what they get through is a normal experience, and as a parents, that you are there with them along the way. And Gabby, would you like to add on?
Yeah.
Can I just intersect it? How about I just explain it in Bishlama, and then if Valerie can, that way we cut it. So one in where maybe Hemi just talam say we got two different ways that beginning is a react from Taem Yumi go through the one trauma, talk with trauma, Hemi or some say you fright or heartily heavy from situation where it happen. So lo beginning ni time hemi fright when we used to mekem, sometimes beginning ni hemi stave holem feeling hem inside, ale hemi no one them explain him, or sometimes by hemi to ask him say we need him help or want something or some bro hemi stave tremble express him. So when we hemi tell him hemi say important blow you acknowledge him say yes beginning hemi go through the one really hard situation, but you make sure say you let them beginning stuff say you papa mama is stop releasing, and then as some you provide one safe space for you na papa mama itu run it like stop releasing. So mena by continue blow work with them beginning. Okay, go ahead, Gabby.
To add on to what Niva said, it's difficult for an adult to understand what has happened in Vanuatu, let alone a child. And it's important to remember that children's way of understanding things is more limited. And so this can be shown in as we start to recover from this, children might have new fears about just going about life, like whether it's about the earthquake or another thing, might have difficulty sleeping, like nightmares, things like that, or may be withdrawn from their family, from their friends. So it's important to think about new things that might happen with the children in your lives, just as a result from that, and think about how you can support them. And the biggest way is to, like Miva said, offer reassurance. Yeah, and that includes being honest. With questions like, "Is there going to be another earthquake? Is something like this going to happen again?" It's okay to say, "I don't know, but your parents, your aunties, your uncles, everyone around you will do everything they can to keep each other safe." Yeah. So, and overall, just reassuring them that they're loved, that they're cared for, is what anybody would want, but especially a child.
Okay, so Valoris Basi, you want to explain him a little bit, you want to mekem.
I think you go ahead.
Okay.
Explain him.
Okay. So all friends, one name with develop team member team develop work lo area na we you meet person solve lo look at them all man what you call a trauma or sem. So Gabriel, let me explain enough from him work lo bisa lo US at them all beginning me with them all parents you meet all Pacific Islanders ka bisa I mean tell them now say beginning ba hemi survey when we adult by Yumi all baby fulaman, mama and papa, by so most of the time by Yumi no sabe when I'm beginning is stop control. Or by experience me by him different, but beginning by him different from him beginning. By him now some say but again talk I want to like call him say assurance. Assurance I mean say it like it some parents must make him sure say let the beginning is say for hemi some situation happen. Yes, hemi situation hemi happening now. Be papa mama stop by providing some answer. The some answer pa mi fila no sabe talem. From mi fila no sabe all answer by every something. We got told bumbu with the mal auntie or uncle or stop. But you may go through law something yeah. Ale and important too from by beginning he asked himself doctor person. If I got one earthquake again, after I got after by me make one name. Listen, Gabriel, let me tell him, you honestly beginning me. You're right, you tell him straight lo beginning, but you tell him the one way we have me calm, tell him the one way we have me loving, but you assure him over against it. You love him, by you start with him, papa from mama, by start with him, or bumbu by start with him. I mean, by helping beginning from, by him, it got the different thing too. From by time, as time, hemi kopa, hemi start go, by beginning he start developing different thinking, some concept. Lo wanem na hemi yo some kind disaster or small feeling to him. So I mean now some say you start talk about all kind how will you cope with them, how will you understand them, how will you work with them each other. So I think him now one little answer or question, yeah. So yeah. So other things that you and Gappy you have that it's important or maybe that it's important to let the audience if there's any other questions. Valerie, do you think there's any other questions that I think I might have one question. I was listening to one of the what was his name? Maybe he's a climatologist. Maybe if I'm right, his name is Robson, and he's a very very well spoken about the climate or and talking about the impact of not climate change, but what just happened. But he teaches at university, a National University of Vanuatu, in the area of climate change, but also geology. And he's talking about how the false news that have been like in the community. Maybe it's not so much that went on social media. Maybe there was one that went on social media. But he talked about how he was going for his morning walk this morning, and every place that he was going, there's this little community that had come and gathered because somebody had spread the rumor that there's going to be another earthquake. And so he had come on this evening and just talked about how for earthquake, there's no such thing because we can't track earthquake the way that we would track a cyclone. And so it had all this fear that's built up. And so he first approached a bunch of mamas, grandmothers who were huddled up and I don't know if they had slept overnight in the park. And then he went down, it was just like three different or four different groups that he had to stop and talk to them. So can we talk about that? Like, how does that, what does that do to a community and the fear that it puts into young people as well, and just in general?
I think that Meva, the way that Meva touched on this in her talk was really good. That just the importance of looking and seeing if what we're reading is actually the truth, because it does stir up a lot of, or not stir up, it can make the stress of the situation much, much worse. And when we're in distress, it is a lot more likely that for things to be made worse by things like negative news stories, kind of like what Mabel was touching on, the importance of having, of like trying to look at positive things instead of negative things. And so it's important to take the news that we see and see if this is actually something that's true or something that is being generated without any real evidence. Because when we're stressed, we're less likely to think critically about what we're seeing and what we're hearing, and it can have real consequences, like disrupting the communities, and I like what you were saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Valerie, before we maybe you want to talk on that one. I think you probably heard that story that Robson was talking about. Just touch on like how the importance of getting the right information, the importance of understanding, the importance of understanding. Okay, so I'm going to explain that one. So what one name where visualize up TOKBAOT, I think you've like been having small drops on suppose you've like been watching the day. Let me talk about how you got all manually start to message by Harry by hedkwek can happen lot time with them. So make him say some rimi go stop lo one park or stop tram lo meet to get up lo stop lo wait lo suppose hedkwek come back. Alio some drops on him tell him say hedkwek hemi no want something or some cyclone where you miss have a track him. From him stop antanit lo crown, hemi happen times hemi happen. So it's important to mas by you must learn blo understand him. So I mean that details so me look him start explaining how na if ate hemi form. So suppose if you look video yet hemi start lo Facebook lo I think media page lo Facebook social media page social media page lo Vanuatu. Misabi say I think only circle them around. Play me custom good for understanding first time before you misabi stop manually stop making caman talk lo the social media or just talk about the community number from you make them say all manually fried tumas and them say you fried and me build them up more community fear. So make them so beginning to bali fried. So me want something about you must look at them good. Especially the time also maybe focus the one and me come out the straight source. It may be really important to us. Yeah. Okay, so that was one question. Is there any other things that we need to touch on, elaborate on from our slide?
Miss, I'll ask one question by Ken.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, Miss, I would say, Yumi got all relatives only stop overseas after only been affected or frustrated from communication hemi no clear globally sabi talk back all families really go through the natural disaster. How Blong Kop Wetem Wan stress whether you stop far away lo family blue you. Mimi Talamolsen from say you got fulap seasonal worker where low first day no more time said quick me happen or you must like walk or you come back the house or you know finishing work get from only worry tumas or you know cut some more family blow even the next day or you like or you know more work from Oli try blo ring blo find out the family all right or no. One them now by Yumi Hauna by Yumi Save help them all kind of situation where they got long distance connection with them loved one after natural disaster hemi kill them loved one back home. By you always have a comment lo plesia Hauna by Save make himself frustration hemi cut down. Lo all families swelly, especially now all seasonal worker, both lo Australia and New Zealand.
Gabby, do you understand that? Do you think you can try it? Oh, okay. I can explain. So Maeva can. Okay. So what she's asking is, Maeva, is that she's speaking specifically for the long distance. Especially when it happens at that time, and you're used to somebody talking, you're chatting, like say it's your wife and your kids are back home. So because especially this is the questions coming from seasonal workers who are in New Zealand and Australia. And so what's doing is it's affecting their job. And so most of them have kind of just dropped what they were doing and went back to their apartments and for the day because they couldn't cope. It was just too hard for them. Let's talk about that. If both of you have maybe some nuggets on how in that period where it's just like this fluctuation of like anxiety, I've been trying to call. I mean, I know you've already covered most of it, but just kind of like I think she's specifically asking for that long distance where you're not hearing from your loved one immediately. You want to know what's happening, and it's affecting your job, that you can't get the job done. And that's what's happening actually right now in both Australia and New Zealand to us seasonal workers. We can take turns back and forth.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mary. Yes, so in my presentation, I introduced like a breathing exercise. During times like that, it's very important to regulate yourself. Like it can. At first, because when I first learned this, it was something that it was really hard, especially growing up in the village. I grew up in Fiji, so when I started doing this breathing exercise, at first it was a bit awkward for me, but then as I started and then I tend to forget, and as I go along, when I started practicing it, and now when I tend to have that emotions where I started to have that stress, I tend to do the breathing exercise. So breathing exercise can be helpful for some it may not, but I think it's important to find something that will help you regulate yourself, regulate yourself, because when you tend to be in that situation, there's something we call feel like you're not in the present moment. Like your physical body is there, but your mind and everything else is not with you. So it's important to ground yourself, bring yourself back in. So you could do like a grounding, a breathing exercise or something. You don't necessarily have to find a space. Just so either breathing exercise, or sometimes what I'd like to do is I like to wiggle my toes to on the ground, or like as I'm wearing my shoes, to just feel the ground or feel the shoelace. And I understand that in that situation, we cannot concentrate, we cannot do things, and that's a normal experience. But remember to bring yourself in again, regulate yourself so that you can allow yourself to think clearly of the next step for you to take, so that you can while waiting for your get in touch with your loved ones. And also I'd like to remind us again to like focus on what you can control. Like, yes, the network is very patchy back home, and you're seeing a lot of things on news. You're seeing a lot of things on social media that is triggering this, and this could trigger that. That I believe that what that question was, it could also be, what do we call, secondary trauma. So secondary trauma where because of what you see, you get that traumatic emotions.
Emotions.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe Gabby could add on, but whatever is like breathing, do breathing exercises or things that you can do to help regulate yourself, ground yourself, and also to control what you can.
So does that mean that, and then I'll explain in English, you know, when it's almost kind of like, sorry, in Bishlama, it's almost like you are having anxiety at the same time, because you could be sweating, you know, because you could be sweating and your palms are, and your body just feels like it's not there. It's just, it's gone, because you're so, it's so tense. And I like the fact that that breathing exercise. So, but Hemi, then I'll come back to Gabriel for you to explain. So one name where maybe Hemi talem says sometimes from Valerias can say when you make a situation where Hemi affect them. So especially long distance, so you know sabe kasem or laugh on do you after some affect them you thinking tumas happily you heavy. Sometimes by you some say all finger you really sweat. After some say you had them say you know must have a feeling or body play or some say you know more you cut one out of and some body experience where hemi sa talem say you make sure say you find one something where seven make them say you realize them say okay you stand up low ground you stop it you stop it breathe they mean as some breathing and you want tool blow help them you blow finding back one we use have a control them from me part the body bleeding so when me tell them low experience from it and say me stress sometimes you me some every day you me breathe you me not realize them but you must remind you okay you breathe let me know more. Then say you reminded me once. Okay, you breathe a little, you try kind breathing exercise. So you try me before we stop explaining to you. Yeah, you take one deep breath in, or somebody you count them low. How I may explain them after you wait to call you stop breathe slow, you come out. He may help them some diaphragm blue. You I may help them lung blue. Some say you release them out of air. Make them say you come body blue. He may come for time. So you stress every muscle blue, but it tighten them more. Tight, make him say, you know, sabi tingting. Somebody missed and make him say, body bleed tight. And when make him say, randomly, you miss a kopak, lo house, kopak, lo apartment, lo tram, lo kolo, tram, ring. The men are some say, when they may tell him, say, if I want something where you use have a control him. So breathing him, you want, you go walk out, or you pray, manage, make him say, by, you manage him, how body bleed hemi react from by man bleed you walk one way body bleed to by walk one way se mena se hemi sa paleminale hemi talem say one way we hemi making from sometime I think breathing exercise or meditation and I walk lo in be never one hemi talem say hemi make sure hemi book more from all thing all top him time hemi stand up make him say feel him say okay me all right me one way to say you got two different kind technique me one after away me put hand double hand lo me go anta Kop one tap finish so they come down back and suppose no you saksagam han or some all back to sem one of them or some 12 time or that 12 time or some lo make him say sim say body blue move lelepe say me one way now okay Gabby we can go.
To add on to what was already said, like we said, stress is a normal reaction to something like this. This is a time of heartbreak for our country with what what has happened and the people and the places that we've lost. And it makes sense that that you would be devastated by something like this, and also stressed about being unable to reach family, wanting to know that they're all right. It's something that we went through, and it was really scary. And so I would say that in this place, self-compassion is helpful here, reminding yourself that what we're going through right now is something scary and something that is heartbreaking. And so it's okay to take time to care for yourself, and allow that stress and those negative emotions a way out, whether that's through the breathing exercise that Meva taught, or through prayer or community with the people around you, which is one of our people's greatest strengths, is community, family, the village mentality. If it were even just writing the things that you would like to say to the people that you're not able to reach right now. Those are a few suggestions. Having something to make sure that your stress has an outlet and isn't just sitting with you and weighing your heart down. And also at the same time, taking care of the child in you, of your mental health, and being understanding towards that it's okay to be stressed and sad, because this is a really difficult thing that has happened.
So again, the way when I'm reminding me, say, me go back to slide there where all you call them say self-compassion, or look at them good you want. From time to look at them good you want by hemi affect them you by hemi also affect them all laugh one blame. So hemi first something. I mean some rule blow one rule there, well it all columns the time say before you help him never a man with trouble, you must help him first time. From you must good never a man to hemi save good. So fasting will got hemi one, hemi healthy, hemi good. Hemi understandable too from hemi stop lot time na yeah where hemi all same. So fasting blow taking care of you one, making sure say you all right. Hemi no one shame, hemi no one guilty. Hemi blow you ready, blow talk over that way. Time say internet you can back on after you have talk to from time you talk ogata liwet na blossom se ba you talk ogata. So time say talk ogata but you sabi say you got control. We can say communication ya by hemi sabi mama or beginning sabi lean lo you or tati sabi lean lo you. The time you may run me breakdown be every something by breakdown too. So me right play you look at them good you want. So me one fasting where you sabi making a time with them so you start far away to maslow family. The tiny na some breathing exercises sabi mekem. You sabi write lo or you sabi compose one sing you sabi bless sabi pray together lo one activity or some say me worship ya. Me all right. Okay. So Valerie, do you have any more questions? I know you're with people there, and they're the ones that anything about like the house for parent? Any questions that any parent might want to know more regarding the children?
Yes, I think lo site lo all beginning now. Amy one big fla question where plan the parents only find them Amy one new experience from say earthquake this fla earthquake really experience Amy more aggressive more Amy more strong more beginning Amy surviving beginning ta Amy experience one strong something or something Amy change Amy sometimes change him attitude him to la house so maybe na catch up lo talk with them some family more how will beginning stop react. Also one with to less stop talem hemi very true. I got some beginning really go high post meaning only sek with them. After got time really no only quiet now only no more save talk. Hemi way quiet there now. Also hemi way me time only. Also, but me ask one question by again. So sometimes the parent they start opening up conversation with them or beginning. After they ask them, how now you feeling during, how now you tell them reaction to after the earthquake or so tell them experience during earthquake. After one beginning, by him tell them lehem. Emi tell them talk clear. Benarla beginning way quiet na emi say me no save talk first time. From you got one part experience. So one them now, or you miss have make him place from beginning quiet and say, you know, most of the time many something which me change him attitude from beginning one time before him been stop talk. But after that, hemi change him no more talk. Hemi just stop quiet no more. Him say, but me no save talk.
Okay,
So parents say hemi worry a little bit. Say, by stuff affect him for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So Gabriel and Meva, I think the biggest, even our caretaker, the prime minister, even mentioned it. Sometimes we tend to overlook the conversation around children when we're speaking, in this scenario, and so I noticed that Valerie is concerned too. It's a very traumatic situation, as we know. And I'm hoping that we can at least give some tidbits for parents. And so she's emphasizing again, Meva, you had talked about, maybe you could explain a little bit more about when a child is withdrawn back in, whatever the term that you've used. And that's the one that they're worried about because Valerie had been speaking to some of the parents and they noticed that after this earthquake, because it's such a different scenario from the tropical cyclone, some of the kids that have been very extrovert or loud or outspoken, suddenly it changes their personality, within just overnight. And so now the discussion of the family is like, can you tell us, how do you feel about what happened? And the child who used to be very outspoken, which just says, well, I can't speak right now. And it just goes quiet and won't say a thing. And so that makes the parents very anxious and very afraid. What are some of the things that a parent could maybe say or do, or maybe just overall give an understanding to the parent?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mary. So one thing that came to my mind when you were addressing the question was art therapy. Our field does not only involve talking, because sometimes as a counselor we experience clients too who does not talk doesn't speak because of what they've experienced, and especially children. Art therapy can be useful for them. Art could mean drawing, using the pencil and draw how they feel, draw what's going through their mind, or there are forms of arts. They could use sand or soil to shape out of what what's going through their mind, because yes, what they experience is a normal reaction because of the traumatic experience they just encountered, and especially children. Most of them, it's a new thing, and they fear that it's something that might happen again, that could happen again. So again, as me and Gabriel have addressed earlier about reassurance, and if they are not speaking, there are other forms like maybe Gabriel could speak more on this. But one thing that came to my mind is painting or drawing something, or they could use sticks to build things as a way for them to an outlet of what's going on in their mind.
Thank you. That was really nice. So before Gabriel Hemi Doctor, maybe Hemi Talam say one way lol Yumi al parent that beginning Hemi stop la Doctor. Daya you find him one different way blow. Let them beginning Hemi express him one way stop lo hat blahem or heavy blow hat blahem. Ale one in Hemi give him Hemi draw. Hemi draw him all one way Hemi have experience. So Hemi draw lo sun peach or lo crown. O usum clay lo forme mol tingting blahem. So I mean I'm used one way blo triumph beginning hem save communicate and feelings blahem. Usum all something was in painting, drawing, lo sand peach, lo paper, lo crown, or making all clay or whatever something we hem save making where hemi save also relaxation hem hemi safe. I mean all kind of different outlet we hem save usum. Okay, Gabriel.
I think that what Mavis said was great. Making sure that kids have an outlet is really, really helpful because a lot of the times children, when they aren't able to, they don't have the vocabulary, they can't really describe what they're going through, but they can let it out through other means like art, with things like painting, writing, drawing, sand art, things like that. For other kids, their outlet could be sports or other things in school. Having time with friends, with people or kids their age, people that they feel they can talk with in the way that kids do, and how they make friends that way. And overall, giving them reassurance, like we've said. I know that it sounds like it isn't a lot, like as a parent, like that, all that, it feels like it's not a lot to offer, but to kids, it is a lot. It means a lot to be reminded over and over that they're loved, that the people that they live with will do everything they can to keep them safe, and that they want to listen to them.
Thank you, you guys. These are really, really good and important messages, because obviously it's something very new for us. And having both of you who are now working or have worked and still working in this kind of areas, this is really good. It's the beginning of our conversation, and we hope that we'll continue to talk. Hopefully, we can have an actual Zoom this time without having to go through Facebook and nothing works. It is just a wonderful thing that at the moment, so many things are happening. So before we finish up, are there anything that the communities can do? I'm going to come back to for the kids. Is there a way that they can have like for an outlet for kids that can come together and use their hands for writing and painting, or that kind of creative way to let their feelings out? What are some of the ideas, maybe just to help the community, parents to come together and do like a circle time, sharing, STORIAN, that kind of thing? Or is it too early to have it now, or wait for a little bit? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
A good question. From my perspective, I think it's good to have those not exactly normal, but like good, positive, regular community things like STORIAN, like having dinners or meals with friends and family, and church, and all of those kinds of things, because it keeps everyone, including kids, from isolating themselves, from withdrawing, and it can be a reminder for kids that that they don't have to grow up very fast to meet this challenge. That in their community, amongst their parents, aunties, uncles, cousins, that they're still kids, and they have people that are looking out for them. That's my perspective. Miva, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with Gabrielle. Like what she said earlier, that sometimes as adults or as parents, providing reassurance or speaking or providing words of comfort to people might not seem much for some of us, but we don't I think we underestimate how powerful that is. It's a very powerful thing to do, to provide reassurance, to provide words of comfort. And again, adding on to what Gabriel said, like coming together as a community, having dinner together, have a story and converse. You don't even have to converse about, what has happened. It can be just a conversation of anything. And sometimes people who are isolated, they might be there, but they could be just quiet and just sitting around. Don't underestimate that. You don't know how impactful coming together as a community, because as humans, we need each other. And I think nowadays we tend to forget that. But that's one of our human needs. We need each other. And yeah, that's the most powerful thing we could do.
Well, thank you so much. So all listeners, Yumi kamlo en lo storian lo Yumi now. So to vlay just talem, say important lo Yumi keep together, lost community, even during the time where Yumi stop experiencing naya. No forget lo Yumi sitan, Yumi storian hami one part lo life Yumi before apu only come. And me how na Yumi survive os them now, even Yumi go through a lot of time os them. Important. Again, assurance tol beginning. Devlay you had devlay establishment award assurance. You mean them say you must tell them, remind them you want to make sure so you talk beginning say you're right. Or if I stop, you miss stop. But you go through the situation, yeah. Acknowledge him all feelings. Look at you're right. You tell them look at the seminar. Sabi answer question, yeah. Me understand them question, yeah. But you figure them out. And important to us, you need each other a lot of time when I am. Make sure say you find them source for information, please, the right place. Make sure say you take him care of you want first time, and it's so important. You must take him good care of you want. You breathe, don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to look at good. Don't forget to sleep good. And may want something while you wait to talk with them loved ones. Pray hemi want Yumi sabe, hemi want because something the life play Yumi. And just make sure say you acknowledge him all people around you. Tell them one could tell us something you okay from Mena, so maybe tell them. Just talk way. So you ask him, say you alright? They may go far away. Touch him at man to different places. So time na yan, but you may run Vanuatu, you may take care of you now. You must reach out to each other in every something we make him. Okay, so Valerie, one last word before you may go.
Okay, thank you, Tumas, Melanesian women today, and thank you, Capriel, with the Maiva. Thank you for giving us this good story about how to cope with stress. Lot time law natural disaster. I think we want them talam no say yes semi true. Yumi time Yumi style natural disaster also Yumi stop haram Yumi no heart Yumi heavy Yumi waril mind blimi no setel emi kut lo you kolo neighbor blue you STORIAN Wetem hem SHEREM you stable house you STORIAN Wetem hem ol pikinini tram blo yes involve you with them some activity where hemi pulum tingting blo kata how lo tingting blo Naturol Disasta play music with them kata or play one game with them kata pa isa help him also one with to fly talem sit take him kata out lo conversation blo one Naturol Disasta so Mimi find him lo mi say one with to fly talam about say you stop you won emi no kuti ko STORIAN me find out when me happen during when me stop me to me live far away lo family all family blumi very affected lo earthquake ya be time me ko lugol nar la mama well all seasonal worker we all NI-VANUATU me STORIAN with them kata all get tu only face same something only worry after time me like STORIAN to get out change all topic try and blow give some positive thinking lo when we come work from the bottle goals block at time mekem li only forget them about worriness after me make him only happier time if like one me look only say, oh you must work more hard or you must make him good want something else and blow and the money blow go help him back family from family be really stop one situation so change them all topic play me lo how you make conversation with them all family blimi especially neighbor or all community blimi that you go to get house me by me say really help mo katablo only say yes you me still live you me still yes you me still continue with them on normal activity blimi instead plus stop think about tumas Naturol Disasta way by me sabe affected me so thank you tumas blimi sabe STORIAN or same blimi kata tingting lo SHEREM lo Yumi lo how blimi sabe deal with them stress during the Naturol Disasta so thank you big one Melanesian woman today.
Thank you.